Passenger briefing we've already completed. Pre-start. Controls, free and clear. Watch the stick, honey. I'm going to move it around.
Oh, okay.
Okay, controls are free and clear. Harnesses are done up.
Yeah.
Yep. Door is secure. Fuel is on. Quantity checks. Caps are on. Oh, cap is on. Mags on both. Mixture. Mixture is rich. Carby cold. Primer, we're going to give it one more shot. Okay. Primer is in and locked. Throttle is cracked. Battery is on. Master is on. Prop area clear. Clear! Okay, here we go, hon. So I've been flying for 36 years, and I've had kids for 19 of those years. And I have not once taken one of my kids flying. That's part of the reason why I wanted to get back into aviation, back into flying. And now we own an airplane, so my brother and I bought this Aeronca Champ. And so I decided to take my kid flying. What we did was we sent the rest of the family up to the cottage driving, and I took my youngest here, Erica, up for a flight. And we departed out of our home strip here. It's a grass strip called Greenbank. And just did a plan to head up there before the weather, got worse, because it was supposed to develop into towering cumulus and some thunderstorms later on in the day. So we got going in pretty decent time. And what I wanted to do for this flight, we had pouring rain the whole day before. Rain nonstop all day in this field. So I was a little worried about the soggy conditions, but this field is amazing. Like, it's grass on sand, so it drains the water really nicely. So there's absolutely no puddling, no ponding, not even wet spots on this field. But I decided to do a soft field takeoff anyway. Probably should always do a soft field takeoff off the grass strip. This Champ is really made for this type of these types of takeoffs and these types of conditions. But what I decided to do was just try this technique whereby instead of going full throttle and then full control column forward to get the tail off the ground as soon as possible, the plan for this takeoff was going to be full throttle, unpin the tail wheel. So as you can see, I've got full back pressure here, which you really always should do when you've got that tail on the ground like a tail drag. But instead of bringing the control column forward on full power, I was just going to bring it to a neutral position. I was going to hold it in that neutral position and let the airplane fly itself off the ground in a 3-point stance. Now, I knew this airplane would do it, and I knew it would do it comfortably, but what you do have to be aware of there is you're getting the airplane off the ground at the minimum possible speed, and really close to your stall speed. This thing got airborne at under 50 miles per hour, and I think the power on stall speed is around 42 miles per hour. So you have to really work to get the airplane leveled right back down into ground effect without overdoing it and stuffing the nose back onto the ground. And here's what the takeoff looked like from outside here. We're going for full power here, and you can see the control column full back, but then it goes more to a neutral position there. And just watch how quickly this thing flies itself off the ground. Watch this. There, it's already flying. So try and level it off here and keep it in ground effect so that it can accelerate nicely. And by there, the plane had already accelerated past VX to VY, so past your best angle of climb to your best rate of climb speed, and we were doing really well at that point. Here's what it looked like inside the cockpit. Maybe you'll get a view for what the pilot looks at here. Going full power down the runway, just holding that stick neutral, waiting for the speed to build, and right about here is where the airplane gets airborne. And you see how it's kind of wallowing side to side a little bit. It's because it's pretty mushy, it's pretty close to your stall speed. So you just ease that nose down back into ground effect, let the plane accelerate, and then by this point it's already climbing. You can see us leaving the ground pretty nicely. And at this airport, really the only concern we have is at the end of the runway here, you've got a road that you have to cross, a pretty major road. So maybe you could have a farm tractor going by, maybe a transport truck. So plan for a 50-foot obstacle there. We cleared that around 150, 175 feet. So very close to max gross. So it was absolutely no problem. Really enjoyed that takeoff. First time I did it, first time I took the airplane off from a grass strip, and it was very enjoyable and very easy. Really loving this Aeronca Champ, if you can't tell. Now, when you look ahead, what we're looking at is, just your typical puffball cumulus for a nice summer afternoon. And they were going to be bases around 3,000 feet, which is what we wanted for our cruising altitude. So we were just going to see what kind of altitude we could get, knowing that these cumulus clouds were going to become they're going to go from scattered to probably broken to overcast, and go from cumulus to towering cumulus with about a 30% probability of thunderstorms throughout the afternoon. So we have to keep that in mind. And as you can see, as we progress along here, you can see we're getting pretty close to the bases already. But as you can see a little further along the flight, it goes from that scattered condition to more of a broken condition. And you can just see this progression of how the clouds and their bases become darker, meaning they're taller, higher, and meaning they're more of a factor for general aviation. So as we progress along, then we start to see some clouds that are pretty ominous looking, dark. And I explained to my daughter, Erica, that these clouds within an hour would be starting to spit out rain, and within a couple of hours, we could be looking at a thunderstorm coming into them. So it's a 1 hour flight, so we were already about half an hour into the flight by this point. So we were still in pretty good shape. Regardless, it was just a fantastic flight, and I made sure that I let Erica take control of the airplane as soon as we were level and stable. And here she is doing the flying. She flew for a good 10-15 minutes and did a really good job of keeping the airplane straight level, had some good pitch control, really had a nice feel for it. And that was really enjoyable. And then I didn't want her to fly too much, actually, because I wanted her to just take a look out and enjoy the scenery and really, really like flying. And she loved it. She let out I wish I had the audio, but she let out a huge squeal when the airplane first got airborne. It was really enjoyable. So here we are in final to Muskoka Airport. Nice long paved runway, but a 6,000 footer, I think. Interesting thing that happened on final here was that it was a 3,000 foot overcast layer now. And because I was heading straight from the south to the straight north-south oriented runway, I was pretty much on an extended final approach for the runway all the time. So as a couple of IFR arrivals were coming in, it didn't take much for me to calculate that they'd be descending through the overcast as I was coming straight in. Now, I didn't land straight in. I always planned to go overhead the field 1,000 feet above and do a full circuit. But because of those IFRs landing above me, I actually widened out to the right a couple of miles to be a couple of miles off of that center line, off of that extended center line. Now, when I did finally do my full circuit, this is me on final here, a turbo beaver was coming in pretty close behind me, pretty fast. So we communicated really well. I was really happy with that. I told him that I was going to land short, but I needed a backtrack to get back to this taxiway that you see right there at the end of the runway. So he gave me a bit of space, but I expedited the landing. Landed tight, was shooting for the numbers to touchdown. Let's see how I did here. Not bad. Touchdown just past the numbers. A bit off center line, but I didn't mind that too much because I wanted to go well right of center line to be able to facilitate that 180 back to the ramp there. So it was a bit of a crosswind too. It was about a 15 knot crosswind at 20 degrees. So that crosswind was a bit of a factor, and you can see the tail wheel kind of slap around as we touched down. But overall, I was pretty happy with that landing. Firstly, because it was very safe. I let two IFRs go in completely unencumbered, gave them the water line from the center line and communicated that. And then communicated really well with that turbo beaver that was coming up behind me. I was going to need that extra time on the runway. So very happy with that, very safe and very enjoyable. Erica just had the time of her life. Fantastic flight. A bit bumpy because you could see that cumulus cloud equals turbulence. So went through some bumps, but she handled it like a champ, and the champ handled it like a champ. And I'm really enjoying flying this airplane. So, that's what I'm going to do more of throughout the summer. Hopefully, we're getting to the end of summer now. I'm taking a kid to university in a couple of days, but hopefully I'll be able to fly him home from university every now and then when we get to spend some time on the weekends and such. So that's it for this flight here. Just wrap it up by putting the airplane away, tying it down, and then we enjoyed a really nice weekend at the cottage. So thanks for listening, and thanks for flying with Frank.